Welcome to the explainer. Okay, let's talk cloud. If you're using it, you know just how fast those costs can start to climb. So today, we're diving into a really critical strategy to get that spend under control: workload optimization. It's all about making sure you're getting the absolute most value out of every single dollar you invest.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to pull back the curtain on those hidden costs that might be lurking in your cloud bill. Then, we'll get clear on what optimization really means. We'll look at 7 practical ways to do it and see why it's got to be a team effort. And finally, we'll talk about the real goal, which you'll see is about so much more than just saving a few bucks. Let's jump in.
All right, first up, let's talk about the problem we're actually trying to solve here. It all kicks off with a hidden and, frankly, often massive cost. Think about it this way. Would you ever pay to keep all the lights blazing 24/7 in a giant, totally empty office building? No way, right? It sounds absurd. But honestly, that's a perfect metaphor for what happens all the time with cloud spending.
And that right there is the heart of the issue. Cloud systems often grow organically, piece by piece. And because of that, it's just so easy to end up with resources that are way too big for the job, barely getting used, or sometimes just completely forgotten. This isn't just a small drip, it can be a major drain on the budget.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a whole set of practices we call workload optimization.
What's so powerful about this definition is just how much it covers. See, optimization isn't just a single action. It's about choosing the right tool for the job, making sure it's the right size, and this is key, only turning it on when you actually need it. And I really want to call out that last part. It's not just about the lowest cost, but also the lowest environmental impact. That's a huge piece of the puzzle.
This really gets to the core of it all. It shifts the whole conversation from a purely technical question of, is this efficient, to a much bigger, more strategic business question. Is the value we're getting from this worth the cost? It's all about tying every dollar you spend in the cloud directly to a real business outcome.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. What are the actual practical things you can do to start optimizing?
Well, it turns out there are 7 core strategies for getting your workloads in shape. Let's do a quick flyby of each one.
And here they are. You've got everything from the basics, like waste reduction, just deleting old storage you don't need anymore, all the way to more advanced stuff, like temporal shifting, which is basically running jobs when energy is cheaper or greener. And then there's modernization, which is about always moving to newer, more efficient cloud services as they come out. Now, let's zoom in on 2 of these that people mix up all the time: scaling and rightsizing. Scaling is for demand that goes up and down. Think of a retail website during a huge sale. You scale up to handle the traffic, then you scale right back down. Rightsizing, on the other hand, is for things that have a steady but low level of use. You're not bouncing up and down, you're just making a permanent change to match the resource to its actual, consistent workload.
Here's a point that's absolutely crucial to understand. This is not a job for one person or even just one team. To do this right, it has to be a collaborative effort that cuts across the entire organization. It's a real team sport.
You really have to think of it like putting together a puzzle. Engineering is there on the ground, actually building and tweaking things. The FinOps folks are providing the big picture strategy and all the data. The product team gives you the why. What are the business goals? What do we expect demand to look like? And critically, you've got leadership providing that top-down support to make sure this work actually gets prioritized. And, this kind of teamwork and these sophisticated practices, they don't just pop up overnight. Organizations have to grow into it. They evolve their capabilities over time. It's that classic crawl, walk, run model. You start small in the crawl phase. You're just trying to get some visibility and go after the biggest, most obvious wins. Then, as you mature, you get to the walk phase, where you start to automate some of the simpler tasks. And by the time you're in the run phase, you've got a whole comprehensive strategy, tons of automation, and really clear metrics to track exactly how you're doing. So, after going through all these strategies and roles and maturity phases, let's circle all the way back to the most important question. What is the real goal here? This is so important. Optimization is not just about blindly slashing costs. It's a strategic balancing act. Sometimes you might actually choose to spend more to get better performance. Other times, you might be okay with slightly lower performance to save money or to lower your carbon footprint. The goal is to make these trade-offs consciously with your eyes open, always trying to maximize the total value. And that really brings us to the final critical question you should be asking.
Look, getting your services up and running in the cloud, that's the easy part. The real challenge, the real goal, is to make sure every single piece is working together to create the absolute maximum value for your business. It's a question worth asking. Thanks for joining this explainer.